Welcome back to the Bleacher Brawls YouTube channel. My name is Derek. I'm here with Luke, and today we are going to discuss the Red Sox rotation. More specifically, what will the Red Sox rotation look like in 2024, and how will the rest of 2023 affect the decisions this offseason when it comes to figuring out the rotation for the 2024 season? We've got a bunch of stuff to discuss. Who's in the rotation? Who maybe gets moved to the bullpen? Who do the Red Sox sign? Maybe they try and trade for someone. We're gonna discuss it all right here. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight into this. Luke, I want to get your thoughts first. If we're just looking at the 2023 rotation and we're looking at the pieces that will be here next year, so your Bayo, Sale, not Paxton, but Bayo, Sale, drawing a blank actually up top of my head. Bayo, Sale, Crawford, Pavetta, if you see him in the rotation, Houck, who's seemingly coming back to the rotation. How do you feel about those guys as a group? Do any of them get moved to the bullpen? What are your thoughts on that group?
I do think it'll be that group of five: Bayo, Sale, Paxton, Crawford, and Houck. I don't think Pavetta is going to be in the rotation. I think his strength has been being in the bullpen for whatever reason, he's gone out there. He's given great length out of the bullpen. The thing is, that's not going to be a consistent need next season. God, I hope it's not, because I'm hoping they'll have five starting pitchers that will give you durability, and you won't need to use openers next year. But I think he has still come out in brief relief appearances and done well. He does that better than he does as a starting pitcher. For whatever the case, when he was out there as the piggyback guy, he pretty much had a starter's workload. He was going for about 4 innings most of the time, five if things were cooking really well for him. But that seems to be where his strength is. I think I think this rotation looks decent. I don't think that's the rotation the Red Sox want next season, though, just because I think they're one game-changing arm short. So I would like to see them add one starting pitcher in the offseason. I would love for it to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Um, maybe Giolito could be interesting. But there are other options out there. There's the big ones like Julio Urias. I mean, there's Otani, but I think there's only really two players for Otani, and they're both on the West Coast. I think it has. I think this five. So the five out there now, the six out there now that the Red Sox have now, when Howe comes back minus Pavetta, I think there's some really interesting possibilities there, but I don't think that's a championship contending rotation. I think that's the rotation for a good team, but they are one good top starting pitcher short with that rotation. Plus, you have to keep in mind Sale's gone after next season, and James Paxton's a free agent this year, so we can't assume him. So I think actually I want to change what I said before. It probably right now it looks like Bayo, Sale, Pavetta, Crawford, and Houck, and that's definitely, in my opinion, not good enough. So they need to add one starting pitcher in free agency. I like those four though: Bayo, Sale, Crawford, and Houck. I think you've got a good. I think you got two good number twos in Bayo and Sale, and I think you got two good back end guys in Crawford and Houck. But you are missing that true ace.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Now I wonder what their view on Tanner Houck is going to be heading into next year, depending on who they sign. I know they've got a bunch of pitching already kind of on the books for next year, both in the bullpen and rotation. In terms of when you start looking to add pitchers, like you might be pushing a guy like Zach Kelly down to AAA, who I know he's been injured this year, but like he was a guy who was expected to be a pretty big part of the bullpen this year. Got injured, hasn't played this year, but I mean that's a guy next year he might be in AAA, right? Uh, so I think it's interesting. They very well, I think they need that front of the line starter. I would prefer Yamamoto. I'd be okay with Julio Urias. I'd be very much okay with him. I know he's having a little bit of a down year this year. He's also had a couple injuries, but he's only 27, still really young. He doesn't turn 28 until I think like August of next year as well. or like the end of July of next year. So he's still very much young. So him and Yamamoto, I like them both. They're both young. Yamamoto just doesn't turn 25 until like November. So I think those are probably your best options. Aaron Nola is not a bad option. I don't love it. But if you miss out on the other guys, he wouldn't be terrible. You also have guys like Blake Snell, who's available, who Heimblum has a track record with. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they go. Guys like, if you want to go down a tier 2 towards like the Snells and even maybe a little, you have guys like Marcus Stroman who has a player option. We'll see if he takes it or not. You have like a ton of options on the free agent market this offseason. Lucas Giolito, like you said, Jack Flaherty's a free agent, Sonny Gray, a whole bunch of guys. Just guys, there's a whole bunch of pitchers on the market this offseason. Kenta Maeda, like, you know, those are all different levels of guys, but there's a ton of starters on the market this offseason. I wouldn't be shocked if they went and got two. If they went and they said, we like Houck, but we very much could use him as a reliever if we have 6 starters. So, and he would just be the guy who gets pushed to the bullpen out of the 5-man rotation. Although the interesting thing is with bringing in a guy like Yamamoto is, in Japan, they run 6-man rotations and they have an off day every Monday. You're only pitching once a week in Japan. You're pitching on the same day mostly every single week. He comes over to the U.S., you get a 5-man rotation and you don't have that guaranteed off week. You know, that's going to start to add up. Maybe you do want to roll with a 6-man rotation. I think that makes it interesting, but I definitely agree with getting a top-end starter, and I think Yamamoto is the number one option, especially when you consider the cost. Now, when we start looking at this rotation, let's assume they get Yamamoto. Perfect world, they get Yamamoto. You have Yamamoto, Sale, Bayo, and then what we have? Houck and Cutter Crawford, right?
Yeah, and I think you get, if Yamamoto, I mean, that's dicey because you don't know what Yamamoto is in the major leagues. Like you just said, they're in Japan, they're pitching once a week, and it's a different workload. The traveling is different. We're seeing that with Masataka Yoshida getting tired over the course of his first season in the major leagues. But you get a talent like Yamamoto, that changes things drastically with this rotation, and I think that's the kind of signing I would love. I think I'm hoping that that's what Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox are going to do. Look for that big number one starter and not just hope that they have it in Bayo. I think I see great things ahead for Bayo, but you can't just assume he's going to be an ace. He hasn't been really putting guys away. He's had some trouble getting strike 3 against people. He's been pitching to contact, apparently so he could go longer in games and keep his pitch count down this season. But until we see him able to really put guys away and the way an ace needs to, then we still need that ace as far as I see it. I see Bayo as the number 2 of the future until he kicks it up to that next level. So I love the idea of Yamamoto. On the other hand, I know I could see Chaim Bloom balking at putting up the kind of money Yamamoto is going to require, and going more the route of somebody like Jack Flaherty and just looking for, since they have 5 starters theoretically, if you count Pivetta and you don't count Paxton, because he's a free agent at the end of this season. I could foresee Chaim Bloom going for a guy like Jack Flaherty, who I think would be a good 5th starter. But then it's more of a bottom heavy rotation, and you want to, if you want to compete for a championship, you're looking for, if anything, a top heavy rotation. If anything, you'd rather have 2 aces or 3 number 2 pitchers than 3 guys who could slide in anywhere from the 3 to 5 starter range, like we'll see from Crawford and Houck, and a guy like Flaherty if that's the route you go. I don't like Urias because of the injury in his contract here, and his ERA is pretty high up this year compared to what it's been the last couple of years. And I don't see Tanner Houck going to the bullpen. I think they want Tanner Houck to be that right-handed Chris Sale type of pitcher, that brutal slider and the splitter or sinker, whatever it is, to go with it. I think they like that pitch mix that he offers. And look, we've seen him. He looks great for the first 3 or 4 innings, just about every start. He hasn't been able to figure out how to get through that order, that major league lineup the third time through the order, which you need if you're going to be a starter. If you're going to be given 5-6 innings in the major league level, you got to be able to get through lineups 3 times. So I feel like he needs to have that. He probably needs to add another pitch, not another pitch, but have a third pitch that can really be an effective weapon for him to change up what he's throwing to guys for that third time in the order, through the order, and get some more length out of his starts. So that's the way I see it, and I really like what I've seen out of Carter Crawford. I think he's only going to get better. I think he could be a number 3 or maybe a number 2 starter in a year or two. So I mean, it's great that they've got the bullpen set for next year. They're not going to lose anybody significant in the offseason to free agency. And the starting rotation I see it as 4/5 complete, but they need that one big arm that's going to start game 1 of the playoff series for them.
I also wouldn't be shocked if you maybe see Paxton come back. I think I'd be somewhat surprised if they don't give him the qualifying offer. I mean, you might as well, right? And if he doesn't take it and goes elsewhere, you get a draft pick for him, right? So I'd be surprised. And if you do sign him, it's only a 1-year deal. So there's no long-term risk to that. I think that's probably the route they go with Paxton. They try and get him on the qualifying offer. And then if he doesn't sign that, they probably let him walk. Or just kind of extend that 1-year offer for the same amount of money out. Although it wouldn't technically be the qualifying offer because he declined it, but they'd still have the 1-year offer extended to him for the same money-wise. And if he leaves, he leaves. I also wouldn't discount a Tanner Houck trade. If there's a team that's really high on him as a starter, and maybe the Red Sox are like, we like him as a starter, but we're not as that high on him, maybe they get someone to bite and they bring in a piece for him. Maybe there's been rumors about Alex Verdugo maybe being traded. Maybe you bring in a right fielder, right? Maybe Turner declines his player option. He leaves. You're going to move Yoshida to DH. So now you need 2 outfielders if you're going to get rid of Verdugo. Maybe Houck is a piece to bring in one of them. Because the free agent market's not great for outfielders. And maybe the second piece will be a call-up of a Cedar Rafaela, right? But you still need one more unless Yoshida's going to play left, but then you still need to get a DH of some sort. So maybe, but I don't think you trade Houck for a DH, but if you're trading him for an outfielder, I think it could make sense to have Yoshida DH. So I wouldn't hold that necessarily. I would keep that in the back of mind too. I think that's somewhat of a possibility. I think Whitlock's most 99%. We said this on our Sox podcast, I think we both believe Whitlock's gonna be in the bullpen. I'm 99% sure that he'll be in the bullpen next year. It wouldn't shock me if they stretched him out in spring training just so they have it as an option in case of injury. But I think the plan will be the bullpen for him. So I think you're looking at next year as of now. Your guarantees, I think, for next year's rotation are Bayo, Sale, and Cutter Crawford. I think those are your only guarantees. And then I think you're likely to see them make one pretty sizable free agents addition on the pitching side of things, whether it be a Yamamoto, Julio Urias, Aaron Nola, someone like that. Or even if it's a Blake Snell, who's maybe a tier down from those guys. And then you're looking at either Houck or maybe, like I said, maybe Houck gets moved and you bring back Paxton, or you go and get one of those kind of mid-tier starters to put in the middle in that kind of 3-4 spot of your spot of your rotation.
Do you know what the qualifying offer was last season?
I think it was somewhere around $19 million. I think it's gonna be around $19-20 million this year.
19. Yeah,
but for a 1-year deal, and if they are projecting to go over the luxury tax anyways, and it's only a 1-year deal, I think you can reason it.
Yeah, I think there's always so many teams so desperate for starting pitching. I think some team does give him that 2 or even 3-year contract. I'm talking about Paxton now. That he takes. So I don't think they'll get him just by offering the qualifying offer. Based on his performance this year, he's been pretty solid this year. So I don't think he's going to be gone. And I don't think he's coming back for that reason. And if they trade Houck, I'd be surprised because I think they really like his profile. But if they do trade him, then there'd have to be another pitcher coming back, either in that deal or in another
A
deal
signing.
made in concert with that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, either way, even if they lose Houck, they're going to have another good pitcher they're going to have another pitcher that looks good to replace him. I don't think
Yeah.
Snell's going to happen. I don't think Urias is going to happen. I think I don't think Heimblum has any interest in acquiring a pitcher that's 30 years old or older, that's gonna fetch a big market deal. This is, he comes from the Rays background. I think Heimblum sees it more. It's about quantity almost as much as it is about quality because of the rate pitchers get hurt at. So I think they're going to look young on the market. That's why I think
You're looking around the
Yamamoto
Eflin deal, I think. Something like the Eflin deal that the Rays
for,
got, that they matched the Red Sox offer.
for who are you saying?
Remember last offseason, the Red Sox offered
Right,
Eflin 3 years, $40 million.
right.
Eflin's 29 now, and the Rays matched it. I think you're looking at someone who's the 28, 29, a Flaherty, Giolito, someone
Oh
like
yeah,
that, on the 3 or 4 years, around 12 to 14 million a year
yeah.
kind
That's
of
who I
money.
think they'll go after. My money would be on Flaherty, but it could be Flaherty, Giolito, anybody that kind of fits that age.
Tyler
Uh,
Mahle.
yeah, yeah, it could be. I don't know much about him.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of what you're looking at. But yeah, and the reason I bring up Houck trade, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. But like, if a team, like I said, if a team's really high in him and you really like the return you could get for him, don't be afraid to pull the trigger if you know you can go out and get one of those guys to be that kind of 3-4 starter in your rotation. I think
Yeah, he's not
it would more
untouchable.
so. Yeah, it would more so depend on the return, not just the idea of trading out. It's more so return dependent. Do you have any final thoughts on this Red Sox rotation heading into next year before we wrap up?
Just that it's going to look different, but it's next year, but it's not going to look that different. There's going to be, I think we'll get one more name. I'm hoping it's going to be a premier name, and that's the last piece of the puzzle for this team for 2024 and the next few years after that. I like the way the offense looks. I love the way the bullpen looks. We just gotta we need that one big arm.
No, definitely, 100%. I think that's a great place to wrap up. Make sure to comment, let us know your thoughts on the Red Sox rotation heading into next year. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we post. Check out all our links, the Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, all down in the description. For Luke, my name is Derek. Thanks for checking out Bleacher Brawls, and we will see you next time.